When we can pour into influencers who lead organizations across our community, we can change our community. The way we say it is, we want to raise the spiritual temperature of our community. And if we can reach the principals and the mayors and the police chiefs and the social workers and all the key figures in our community, the business leaders, if we can reach them, their influence is going to drip, because if they start leading like Christ at the office and they start living with their faith out in front, it'll change everything.
Hey, welcome to Pastors Unplugged. I'm Rick Probst. We lovingly call it around the office 2PU. Thanks to my producer Ezra for connecting with Pastor Mike Linch of NorthStar. I've known Mike for years and years and years, and he always treats me the same. Very well, very kind, very positive, and always leaves me with something that I can chew on and live on. That's just who he is, and it's just such a pleasure to have him on the podcast. Pastor, how are you?
Rick, I'm doing great, man. It's always great to see you, and it's always great to be back together.
When I go back, I always, no matter if I've known somebody for years and years, I go back and I dig and I say, okay, what have I forgotten about this pastor, this leader? And were you born and raised in Fayetteville? I know you were raised in Fayetteville.
I was, yeah. So I was born in Atlanta, but really grew up in Fayetteville. Yeah, man. Fayetteville was home till I graduated high school and even came back and interned a year at New Hope while I was off at Liberty. Yep, sure did.
Went to Liberty, and I used to live in PTC about 30 years ago. And I haven't been lately. I think the last time a few years back, and it just totally blew up. I mean, Fayetteville, Sonoy. I mean,
unbelievable.
Remember Sonoy? It was like a sleepy. I did a wedding in Sonoy at I think it was the oldest church in town.
Yep.
120 years old or something. And we would go through Sonoy and go, oh, that's a nice little quaint town. I think they had a coffee shop and a mom and pop video store back in the 90s. And then with this whole Walking Dead thing, I mean, it is like unbelievable. Have you been?
I have. So we just met some of my best friends from high school, moved to Sonoy. So we just had dinner with them the other week, and they're like, let's eat on the square in Sonoy. I'm like, what is on the square in Sonoy? And lo and behold, there's real restaurants and places to go. It's unbelievable. In that south side with Trilith and all the things going on down through there. It's really, really like a different world from where I grew up.
I'm sure you hear this all the time, but everywhere, places are exploding. I live over in Loganville, and we've got Loganville, Monroe, and then of course Athens, and everything is joining. I mean, every square inch, which means people. It's good and it's bad because you lose the country vibe, but the good news is there are people moving in that you can minister to, and I know you've seen that in Kennesaw over the years, right? I remember when Kennesaw was you were in the country. If you went to Kennesaw, you were in the sticks.
You were in the sticks. I remember, in fact, I was just telling somebody this morning. I remember moving to Kennesaw in the summer of 91, driving my wife into town, and we were engaged, and we were driving into town. And when we saw that little bitty sleepy town, I remember a big old tear coming out of her eyes, rolling down her cheek. And she's from West Virginia. And so I'm like, I don't know what to think about this. And I'm like, baby, listen, we're not going to be here long. We're just going to be here a couple of years. And here we are in then 2025, and I'm still in Kennesaw and Ackworth. And now it's not a sleepy little town anymore. Man, this is a booming community, both Kennesaw and Ackworth. And I've gotten to watch them really grow during the years I've lived out here.
And look what God has done with NorthStar.
Amen.
We'll talk about that in a second. So, Anne from West Virginia, how did you get a girl? I mean, that's all. Hey, not that this is no pun. Almost heaven, West Virginia. Did you meet her at Liberty or what?
I met her at Liberty. I sure did. Yeah, we met. She was cheering up there. I was playing baseball up there, and we met and, ended up moving down here. And, and I remember the first time we drove by Kennesaw Mountain, and I said, that's just like all the mountains in West Virginia. And she was highly offended by that statement. She goes, that's a hill. That's not a mountain. That's a hill. But man, this area is such a great area to raise a family in. It's home. golly, we went back up to West Virginia last year. Can't even imagine living there or even living in Fayetteville anymore. This is Ackworth and Kennesaw are home for us.
Pastor Mike Linch with us on Two Pastors Unplugged. He's the lead pastor of NorthStar. You have the main campus, and then you've got, and I love this, if it's still called this, I just looked it up a little while ago. The True North venue is an acoustic venue. That's me. That's me. I'll be there in just a minute. How cool is that? Whose brainstorm was that?
It was probably nobody's brainstorm. It was probably like, hey, we got to put people somewhere. Let's try this. And like, oh, I think that worked. And so basically it's NorthStar. It's a lighter version of what goes on in the larger room.
Right.
So it's really not different in the sense of the worship is pretty much the same. It's just quieter. Yeah. And for a lot of people, that's their vibe, man. They love the mission. They love what we're about. They love the vision. They just they want a different radio station to play it on. And so it works out great. It works out great. And it's a great, great venue on Sunday morning. So they have live worship and then I'm on a screen up there.
Now, what kind of adjustment does it take, if any? And I guess it would depend on the communicator, that you have another campus and there's no way that you can, I mean, I guess you could get a chopper and, fly up there or something. But I mean, thank God for technology. Is it a difficult thing to move in that direction? How is it for you guys?
No, I don't think so. And you're communicating to an online crowd as well. So, I mean, we'll probably have more people in an online crowd than we do live in the services. So nowadays, I think it's just normal. So I think as long as we remember that they're there and we don't forget to, and I think any guy would tell you, forgetting to acknowledge them is easy and pretending they don't exist. And then you just focus on the people in front of you. That's where you probably could get into trouble. But golly, I think 2020 trained us all on speaking into a camera and having to get used to speaking even into an empty room. So,
yeah, thank God that we all had that technology back then, because if that would have happened, how many years before?
Oh my gosh.
Years, it would have been a train wreck. And, fortunately, I believe it was God
that's right.
Opportunity for technology to do that. And still folks gleaning on the fact that, okay, there are going to be people that are going to just stay in their home. That's the culture. I don't, whether we good, bad, or ugly, they stay. But to reach them, we have the technology, and you guys are doing so well. Wow, COVID. I've talked to so many pastors with small churches, medium churches, large churches, and the adjustment after, I guess, and some of them saying just now. Some folks are just coming back, and what a shaker there, but an opportunity to get into folks' homes. We're talking with Pastor Mike Linch, and he is the lead pastor of NorthStar Church. And I love that you are all about people. You always have been, and you're about spiritual leadership. Let's talk about the importance of spiritual leadership and the dynamics there in the church.
Yeah. So, we've got a real passion, Rick. We don't believe we're a church just for people who attend NorthStar. We truly believe we were put in Kennesaw, Ackworth, Georgia, to pastor people that don't even go to church yet. They just don't know about it. And how do we reach them? Well, we reach them when we can pour into influencers who lead organizations across our community. We can change our community. The way we say it is, we want to raise the spiritual temperature of our community. And the way we do that is by pouring into the leaders in our community who are leading all these people. Because if we can reach the principals and the mayors and the police chiefs and the social workers and all the key figures in our community, the business leaders, if we can reach them, their influence is going to drip, because if they start leading like Christ at the office and they start living with their faith out in front, it'll change everything about the world that we live in. So that has been our passion, and our strategy is let's get them pour into them, let them pour into their people, and man, we can literally change the temperature of our community. And, you hear all the time, the speed of the leader is the speed of the team. Well, to me, the faith of the leader, the strength of the faith of the leader will be the strength of the faith of the leader of the teams out there in our community, no matter what hat they may wear Monday to Saturday.
Hey, we hear that you're loving Two Pastors Unplugged, so we want to remind you to hit the subscribe button right there on the bottom and give this video a thumbs up. And if you're an audio only, we love you. Thank you for listening to us. And you can subscribe wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, wherever. And there's a new episode that drops every Tuesday morning, so look out for that. And hey, thanks for listening. Now, back to the show. How would you suggest, let's say a pastor has been leading a church for a while and is pretty much just kind of homegrown, but they do want to do that. How would they begin? What's the first step? Do they find out who they know that may be in that community first?
I think they'd be shocked about who's already sitting in their crowd. So for us, we began to do in 2017, we made a decision. It was our 20th anniversary, and we said we want to help 10,000 people over the next 10 years take their next step towards Christ. Well, how do we do that? Well, they're not all going to walk through our doors. We don't have room for that. Right. So how do we do that? Well, we're going to reach leaders who reach people. And so I began to pour into a group of 5 business guys that were key men in our community. And I just shoulder tapped them and said, hey, would you want to go on a journey with me, a spiritual leadership? You guys are all great leaders, but leading spiritually is different. Right. So Henry Blackaby and Richard Blackaby in the book Spiritual Leadership, they said that spiritual leadership is getting people on your agenda. Spiritual leadership is getting people on God's agenda. And so I said, would you like to help people? And they're like, every one of them, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I began to pour into them. And then I began a spiritual leadership podcast called Linch with a Leader, where I profile men and women. Our little phrase is where some of America's greatest leaders learn to lead with their faith out in front. And we tell their stories from Horst Schulze to Ken Blanchard to Carrie Nieuwhof to Patrick Lencioni to Tony Dungy, Dansby Swanson, all these great leaders that have been on the show that are saying, man, I don't hide my faith. My faith drives and dictates what I do. And so little by little, that 5 then becomes 10 and that 10 becomes 20. And over the course of these years now, thousands and thousands of people have been influenced by really what began with 5 guys and then grew into other groups, grew into the podcast. We host an event called Lunch with a Leader, where we host in local business leaders once a month to our campus, and I teach on spiritual leadership. And we'll run 100, low of 150 to high of 175 business leaders in our community during a lunch day. And they come and learn spiritual leadership. So it's there if you look up. You got to look up and you got to look out and you've got to see your community as your congregation, not just a place where you live. And if you can do that, I think that's where the spin and the change is made.
Pastor Mike Linch, NorthStar, he's on 2PU, Two Pastors Unplugged. You mentioned Schulze. We had him on the show years back. He actually came to the office. We were still in Buckhead doing the show every day, and somehow we got him. I don't even remember how. But he came in, and that was one of the best shows we ever did. I tell you what, and he flowed with us so well. I mean, we had humor and just all the stuff going on, but then we got to the point of what the show was about and the topic and the guest, and he flowed so well, and just his story.
Yes.
Yeah. Are you still doing that podcast then?
I am. Yeah. We're 237 episodes in. Yeah, man, we've been rolling since 2017. So
give the name again, because we want people to connect with that who have.
Yes, it's called Linch, Linch. Linch with a Leader is what the podcast is on all the podcast platforms.
Yeah. Are you doing it on YouTube as well then, the video?
We sure are. Yep, it's on YouTube as well.
Hey, that's the way to go. We just went through some I don't even know what you call it, but we were a part of a seminar to say what's hot in podcasts. And they said that YouTube is either number 1 or number 2 is where people get.
Wow.
Even when they're driving, they're not necessarily watching it. I hope they're not watching it, but they are. Of course, I've driven in Atlanta traffic. They may be watching it.
You could watch a whole episode and go a mile. I mean, it really works out well in Atlanta, doesn't it?
Yeah, but they said that people are streaming the sound, and so the metrics in the last 10 years have switched a bit. And so, Spotify is now wanting to be more like YouTube, and it's just unbelievable. I mean, hey, I'm on YouTube every day for something.
Yep.
And it's just amazing. Well, good on you. Check out his podcast. I'm definitely going to check it out. Let's talk a little bit about the church as a whole, not just NorthStar, but the church as a whole. What are you pleased about in the church as a whole, the changes, the growth? Because sometimes we can talk to people, not us on this show, but you can talk to people out there and going, well, the word it's everybody's going to hell in a handbasket and nothing's working and it's just pretty negative. But what do you see the church actually doing right in 2025?
Well, I think this, Rick, and you've watched this through the years, the darker and harder it gets to believe, the more believers come out. And I believe we're living in a world, yes, there are problems. There is no doubt about it. But we're watching what's happening on college campuses across America with revivals happening at Ohio State, Auburn, Texas A&M. Well, that's not an accident.
Yeah.
Every great spiritual awakening has begun with that age.
Yes.
And man, you're seeing it. I believe there's some of it God's looking at our generation going, well, fellas, I tried and you didn't want to work with me. I'm going to use them. I think we've all learned this. God's going to use somebody.
Yes.
And I don't believe he's stopping. And I believe we are watching a generation grow up that their faith means more to them than in any generation I'm 56 now and did student ministry for years, stayed around athletics and high school and college kids through the years. These kids now, man, it's a badge of honor to wear the name of Christ. And
Mm-hmm.
you watched it in college football playoffs. You watched it in college softball with Oklahoma and these girls on national broadcast sharing about their faith. Well, nobody's ever done that before. Not my generation didn't do that.
Right.
They believed, they just did it quieter.
Right.
These kids now, it took a lot for them to stand up. And I believe God's going to use it. So I'm excited about where the church is headed. I think for all of us, it's okay, we're going to have to give up some things that might have been things we loved to do things that God is going to use that may be uncomfortable to us. And that's okay.
I love that. Pastor Mike Linch of NorthStar, we have dear friends that we've known for years, and their son this year was the valedictorian at Archer High School. And a part of the speech at one point, and I don't know if it's allowed or if he just did it or what, but he said, I would like to give recognition to my Lord Jesus Christ. And that the whole crowd erupted and all the voices sounded very, very young, like 17, 18, young people just roaring for Jesus Christ. And I thought, oh my gracious, that's
beautiful.
Phenomenal. Yes, I think the first one that I picked up on the revival was a couple years ago, Asbury.
That's right.
Went on, and it just kept going and going. And they were praying and worshiping 24. I was watching it on stream. I'm like, my gracious, I never experienced the Jesus movement. No. I was too young, and two, I was not church. I didn't have a clue, but I was like, oh my gracious, this must be similar to what happened back in the Jesus movement, and look what happened there to this point. And now there has to be something fresh, if you will. I'll use that term, fresh. And it's so invigorating just to see that. We're running out of time. Thank you so much, Pastor, for your time. You're always a gracious guest, and we appreciate you. God's blessings to you and Ann and all the staff. Next time, I'd like to talk about your staff, because you put a lot into your staff. You've got great staff, and your government. Basically, I use that word government.
Yep.
in the church is pastors, the shepherd, and a management team of believers that have gifts there in the body. And I love how that structure has worked for you. And I'd love to pick your brain on that to help pastors that would like to move in that direction, maybe that they're not really happy with where they're going, and no fruit or the fruit that they would like to have in the constraints, that they're in. But that's for another time. We appreciate you so much. We love you. Always a good time. When you were in Fayetteville, did you ever eat at Melier's?
Oh, all the time, man. That was the staple down in Fayetteville back then. It was about the only restaurant we had back then besides McDonald's.
Yeah.
So yeah, Melier's was the spot.
Yeah, we actually lived in Forest Park in Riverdale, and my parents would get in the car and this was the 60s, and we'd make the drive to Melier's, and I thought, does it get any better? First, I thought we were at the end of the world because right there at Melier's, it was basically the end of 85?
It was the end of old I-85. That's exactly what it was.
Yeah, but we would go to Melier's, and I was like, and so when my wife and I moved back years later after being all over the country, I said, we got to go to Melier's. And it was actually still there. I don't think it's there anymore.
No, but it's gone now. That soggy white bread, man, you could put in the Brunswick stew. That's some good eating right there.
Yeah, good memories. Thank you so much, Pastor. We love you and appreciate you. Go to NorthStarChurch.org. Check out the podcast as well, Pastor Mike Linch. Another great pastor coming up next week on 2PU, Two Pastors Unplugged. I'm Rick Probst. Till next time, see ya. Across the board. Hey, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.